I really want to talk about Fry's Electronics. Um, I really want to talk about Fry's Electronics because if you don't know, though that just really quick. So I want to talk about Fry's Electronics because if you don't know, Fry's closed, and I think it represented something really important to me, and I'm very sad about it. Not because it's a business, not because it's a computer store specifically, even though I loved going there because I'm pretty geeky about tech. Like who doesn't love tech, and it has a bunch of fun technology and all that. But because Fry's was a place that understood architecture's ability to delight and understood architecture's ability to engage the public imagination. And I'm having a lot of thoughts about what to do about it. Of course, it reminds me of the best stores, department stores. Whoops. By Site James Wines. I guess they weren't department stores. Excuse me. It was a grocery store. Yeah. Anyway, is another really good example of a big box store using architecture to delight. And I think there's a few reasons. There's a few reasons why I want to speak up about it. And one is that Fry's closed, and it's important to understand that Fry's didn't close because of its expenses, because of its investment in architecture. Best didn't close because of its expenses in architecture, right? Fry's, okay, thanks for asking. Sorry. Let's go roll back a minute. Fry's is an electronics superstore like a Best Buy. And what they did inside of their stores, differently than any other stores, is that shopping at Fry's was like shopping at a small Disney hotel. They were, look at this. There were both all the exteriors had a kind of theme, and all the interiors would have incredible stage sets or do really amazing and fun interior things. So let's look at the Fry's in let's do this way. Alice in Wonderland was one, UFO. They all had a theme, okay? And most recent, the one that I found first in my life was the Fry's, I think. Whoops, I'm in the wrong. The Fry's up in Burbank. And here's how we're going to find pictures of it, actually. We're just going to go here. We're going to look at pictures. You can see there's like a diner inside, right? They were themed, and here's this incredible octopus that's like coming out of the wall, right? Jungle Gyms is a great example. Yes, Laura. Huge bugs, like they would do all kinds of incredible installations. Like this would just be their, a crashed Jeep that, oh yeah, right. This Jeep got like lasered through, and you would start to tell yourself a little story, because for example, in this Fry's, it was clearly a UFO had landed on the. You see, the outside of the store was that UFO, and the inside of the store, you see the UFO in this huge. It's this huge UFO, and then you see things like this Jeep. It's clearly in like another aisle, across the store, has clearly had a laser just like run through it, right? And things, as Fry's expanded, I think they didn't quite invest in this stuff as much. I don't know how much of this was a product of Fry's and how much was a product of culture in Los Angeles in general, right? Oh, here we go. Here's a great picture. I took this picture too, but another example of this octopus, and then later or somewhere else in the store they're like coming out of the ground, right? And this kind of art direction is something I talk to my students about all the time. Like better art direction, architecture can learn a lot from art direction and storytelling to understand how systems can impact and sort of tell a story by just being the way they are, right? And signal things and create kind of delight and return. Look at that. And things you can return to over and over and like tell a new story or enjoy. It is a lot to do with Burbank culture, but you do see this kind of thing pop up in other places like the Jungle Gyms in Cincinnati, which is a great reference. Not quite this much, I think, but yes. And there was also a really good Fry's all the Fry's started to do that, right? And we can, Best Buy. Here's a like, and we can look at examples all day. Bridges. I do really hope that someone is going to document these and draw them or turn them something before these stores go away. But what this does that's so important is that it enriches the public imagination, right? And today's show has been a lot about what architecture does for people. There's an Alice in Wonderland themed one. Oh my goodness. Like, what does a themed store do? Right? And it's another one of those things that we don't need to do a study on like why we like cool stores, right? Let's get a grant to make models and drawings of this. Yeah, I agree. I actually have a few people who are interested in doing a book, and James Wines, I want to have James Wines on the stream, especially now, because James Wines did these department stores, the best department stores, and I want to engage. He also read my cyberpunk article and wrote me about it, and so I think that he wants to have these. It would be great to have a conversation with James about Best, and I'm sure we could get. I'm not going to like interview him about the successes and failures of Best. I'm sure he's done that enough, but we can talk to him about the public imagination and what video games do. And one of the reasons why I think something like Prison Architect is such a bad, stupid video game is because it provides no outlet. Like you've got everything in place to make a critique, and yet the critique of inside of the game, if there is one in Prison Architects, is just like how awful it can be, right? It makes you play it and just be like, wow, awful. But it's also like we don't need a game to tell you to tell you that that's awful. You just have to be a good listener. You just have to think about society and what is there to be done. These are amazing, right? And we all know it. We all love it. Here's a bunch of cool articles about saying goodbye to Fry's. And The thing about Fries that I loved so much was it's a particular, I think, engagement of the public imagination that the United States in particular, I think, does a good job of doing, because of its relationship to media and contemporary life. Now, and I think, um, the idea that you need to use architecture to make people better shoppers or make people spend more money, that's a kind of intrinsic question I'd be interested in getting at, because I'm not entirely comfortable with saying that that's really the premier role for architecture here in this case. Um, I mean, that is the service aspect, but that is not the kind of public good aspect. It's just about making spaces that are fun and worth caring about. And if you make spaces that are worth caring about, you've got a more engaged, civic life, and that in turn, it pays dividends more so than the store. Stores being sort of commercial success because of their architecture. But we could also talk about, I think, as architects, though, we have to make the case that it's worth spending the money on, right? And I think there are really good examples of, architecture that does a good job of signaling, um, it's either signaling its function or signaling, and obviously there's entire conversations about the um, the duck in the decorated shed, right? And that's the kind of architecture I'm talking about, right? Like Taco Bell architecture. Um, sorry, like a Taco Bell, which now it looks like that. But these are these are what architecture's reduced to in terms of projecting a kind of brand identity. Um, but I think there are obviously ways in which it can be done really well and ways in which we should defend it and work on it. So, RIP to Fry's Electronics. I'm really sad that it closed. I really enjoyed. There was that one. There was also one in Phoenix that I went to. I've really enjoyed going there. Oh my. Now I don't know which one it is. It's got to be electronics. Well, I'm not going there. Anyway, talking about architecture more as a service of to enrich the public imagination and just make more delightful places that people care about, places that people want to be. Okay. And I'll miss Fry's Electronics for its ability to take me, for me to immediately recognize it as one of the most caring and fun, engaging. Like Fry's Electronics wasn't trying to create a brand identity that made me want to shop. It just had a sense of humor to it, right? It wasn't trying to get me into the store to confuse me, to disorient me, and to make me spend more money or sit and wait. Like a lot of mall architecture is designed to do, a la John Jurdy, but it's actually just designed to like engage my imagination with a story and have fun and otherwise be there. And that's what I think made Fry's Electronics different than the architecture of, say, a Taco Bell. So it makes Best different than that of a McDonald's or it's just that these particular businesses didn't survive compared to all the other businesses that do this kind of that go into business without necessarily caring about making their business a fun place to be in, right? There's no arrogance, right? There's no, look at how fun that is. Amazing. I mean, I hope this gets preserved, and I'm knowing the culture in Los Angeles, someone's going to be able to grab some of this stuff or someone's going to make it. I'm sure there's a lot of fun stuff that happens at Fry's anyway. And there's a lot of it's gimmicky, but for all the right reasons.